Well, first, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Kinni Corridor Project open house tonight. We greatly appreciate everybody coming in and helping us along this process. It's been almost 2 years now since we gathered for the kickoff event, and it seems like only yesterday. Wow, sort of like yesterday. I want to thank everybody here and those who could not be here for sharing your time, your ideas, your feedback, your passion, and concern over these past 2 years. I am proud of how we came together on a final decision about our hydro facilities and how we've continued to work together to design a corridor plan that suits our collective vision. You will see those results tonight. I want to thank the Kinni Corridor Project Committee, for which I was happy to be a part of, for their considerable time and effort in defining the goals that have guided the project, for helping to create a framework that we have implemented for decision making, for spending time listening and sharing with community members, for taking your ideals and folding them into a long-term plan, and for showing up in subtropical heat to run the information booth at the River Falls days 2 years ago. That's commitment. I think first thing I'll do here is I'm going to have all the community members please wave as I call your name, or you can all wait and wave at the end, whatever the age is. The committee was Chris Blasius, Rick Bowen, Jason Egerstrom, David Fedrosi, Gary Horvath, Rita Kozak, Patricia LaRue, Lisa Moody, Adam Mazuski, and, sorry, Adam, I always say your name wrong. There it is. Sorry, Adam. And Susan Reese. If we can have a round of applause for those guys. Okay, I'd also like to thank the city council members for guiding us through this complex process. It hasn't been easy, but you did it with thoughtfulness and integrity. I know you look forward to seeing and approving the final corridor plan later this year. There's a few council members here. I think Mr. Morissette's here, Mr. Gagne, Diane O'Dean, and Sean Downing's here tonight. So there again, I greatly appreciate their help with all this too. I know I got another page here. Of course, as you know, the collective work is not over yet and won't be for a long time to come. With that said, I want to invite those of you who are interested to consider serving on the Implementation Committee, or what we're calling a Public-Private Partnership, PPP or P3 for short. Please sign up at the back of the room if you are interested in learning more about the PPP and member responsibilities, knowing that this will be a time-consuming, but we hope rewarding commitment. If you are passionate about the future of the river and river corridor, have time to devote to the project, and can bring ideas, partners, and support to the table, we're happy to have you. Now I'd like to invite Buddy Lucero to the podium. Buddy has been the ringmaster of this project, creating its foundation and keeping everyone to task, as well as continuously integrating and analyzing public input. Please help me welcome Buddy and thank him for his significant contributions to the project.
The mayor has been involved in this from the beginning, and it's one of the many, many night meetings that he has to come to, and that he comes to, and he gets the support and helps us, and he's kind of our champion in this. So if we could just kind of give an applause to the mayor for all this work, I'd really appreciate that. Now, one of the other things that's very important in these projects is the support you get from your staff. And Mary Zimmerman and Angie, right over here, have been two great supporters in getting the information out. If you see it in the newspaper, if you see it over at the gas station, on the TV there, or you read about it, they've been involved. They actually set this up, and they're the ones that have been feeding us well for all the meetings that we've had, and I really thank them for that work. I appreciate it. Now, before we go on to the presentation tonight, one of the things I want to say that we are still moving forward with this project. We are going to do a workshop with the council to go over this and our plan in December 11th at a separate workshop on that. Then we want to get the plan that would be go back to the committee themselves. We usually pass our plans through a resolution. We'll be doing that in January, and hopefully later part of January and February, bringing the final plan and document to the city council. A lot of this information, all the information we do, the videos that you can see are on the city website. You're able to pick up that information. And if you have any questions or concerns or any comments that you have after tonight's meeting that you may have thought about tomorrow or during the week, you can go ahead and submit them through the website or give us a call. We're there to work with you and address anything that we can on that. There are a couple of very important workshops, or I should say actually public hearings, that are going to occur this week, and that's in regards to the Federal Energy Regulation Commission. They will be holding a public hearing. That'll be Thursday night at City Hall, and also Friday morning. They're going to be coming in to take a review and comments on the dams and stuff. So everybody's invited to that. With that, I do want to thank my city administrator, Scott Simpson, for his strong support, all the department directors that have worked with us on this, because it's really a matter of working with staff, having them have the understanding and passing that information to them as they are challenged to go forward in implementing this project. And that's where the 3 Ps, as the mayor talked about earlier, in trying to get this project implemented and become a dream to reality. And if anyone's interested on being notified about those meetings and how we move forward, please go ahead and provide your name and address and our email, and we'll keep you informed on where we're going with that. So with that, I also want to thank our consultants. HKGI has been a consultant that's worked with us over the last couple of years. They've had a history with the city. They are worked with doing some of the master plans in our parks. They have great graphics that they present, and have worked patiently with our committees, and our committees have gone back and forth a lot of times over the many months that we've worked on this. And so I'd like to go ahead and invite Jeff to come on up and introduce himself and his staff.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. It's been a great honor to work with staff and the committee for the past 7 months on this project. My name is Jeff McMenamin. I'm a landscape architect with Hoisington Coker Group. We're a planning firm based in Minneapolis. And I'd like to introduce a couple of my colleagues that have been working with me on this project. Standing right over there, Jody Rader and Amy Hackett. What I'm going to do tonight is talk for just a minute about some of the work that's been completed to date on the project since we started working on the project in April. And some of you may not have been at the September open house, so this might be a little bit of a repeat for some of you. And then talk about what you're looking at tonight and what we'd like to get from you tonight, because it's a participatory process here this evening. So we started working on the project in April, and our first task was to get caught up on the work that had been going on for the past year and a half. And that was work that involved studying the river's ecology, looking at the dam removal scenarios, dam or no dam, and the design charrette that was held about a year ago. The city made the decision last winter to remove the dams eventually, and so that's what we have been working with as a ground zero, is looking at the future then, moving forward, and helping develop a vision for the river corridor moving forward. Some of our early work involved looking at all of the community input that had been done to date and trying to glean some key takeaways from that public input that would help inform the plan. Things like enhanced river access, enhancing the walking, hiking, and biking opportunities along the river, more park spaces in natural areas, improved wildlife and fish habitat, restored waterfalls, better connections between the downtown and the river, and enhancing the river walk. Those are some of the key takeaways that we got from some of that input. Then we did some touring of the site. We walked the entire river corridor, we paddled down it, and I was able to do a little fly fishing on the river this summer as well. That helped inform a better understanding for us, in many ways, of the river and its relationship to the community. So with that work, and then working with the committee and staff, we developed a series of issues and opportunities for the upper Kinni, the middle Kinni, and the lower Kinni, and they're very different, but we learned a lot from that input and the dialogue with the committee about things like concerns about agricultural runoff or future development next to the river corridor, establishing natural buffers along the river corridor, better connections in the downtown, looking at, once the dams are removed, what's left over in the Lake George and the Lake Louise areas, or those future park areas, those kinds of things. There's opportunities for that. Talking about things like paddling and fishing conflicts, better access to the river. So those are some of the things that we identified early on. And then we did a little precedent analysis, which is looking at other river towns across America, some in the West, some in the Midwest, and looking at the kinds of things that those river-oriented towns and cities are doing that are successful. Their relationships to their rivers, economic development kinds of initiatives that they've established, tourism kinds of initiatives they've established, things that we can learn from. And then other aspects of river planning that we've gained through the years of doing a lot of river corridor planning work, working on a couple of other river corridor plans today. I've worked on several in the past, and things that we're looking at are things like the use of conservation easements, and we've got what I call these educational pieces up here on the left. Economic benefits of open spaces and green spaces. Things like parks and open space can actually enhance property values. They can enhance quality of life in a community. They can help direct tourism opportunities. Conservation easements to help protect the water quality of the Kinni, right? So these are natural buffers along the river corridor that can help infiltrate water and filter it before it makes its way into the Kinni. And then what we call green infrastructure. And green infrastructure are things like rain gardens, permeable pavers, bioswales, the urban tree canopy. Those are also methods, engineering methods that we can employ in the more urban parts of River Falls to help, again, filter the water before it makes its way into the Kinni and slow down that runoff before it gets into the Kinni. So those are what's up here, those educational pieces. And then the planning concepts, which are what we'd like you to take a look at tonight. And I'm going to walk around the room here and just explain what you're looking at. This is what I call kind of the concept diagram for the middle Kinni, and this is where the greatest amount of change will take place once those dams are removed. So the Lake Louise area and the Lake George area present opportunities for future parks. This is the area where we start to look at how do we better connect the downtown to the river, redevelopment opportunities, improvements to Main Street and Elm Street, looking at that as a potential event street for community events. There's a more detailed map that you can look at here that's got some of the big ideas, the concepts, post-dam removal. So looking at some of the park uses in the Lake George area through here, initiating things like a trestle bridge over the river here where the old railroad pilings are today, a new amphitheater perhaps in here, some picnicking opportunities, a nature play area. You can take a look at that more closely, and if you have questions, we'll have folks at these boards to help answer those questions. We looked at opportunities for enhancing Main Street, maybe reorganizing some of the traffic lanes and the parking on Main Street as well, to try and make Main Street a more pedestrian-friendly kind of street, improving connections between Main Street and the Kinni. There's a larger plan here where you see some of those ideas that are reflected on these plans all the way up to Highway 35 and just below the Lake Louise Dam today. There are a lot of really great ideas in here that have come from the Kinni Corridor Committee and staff and working with them on some of these ideas. They're reflected in this plan. This plan has some section cuts on it that you can see on these two sheets here. So those are section cuts through some of these areas that might be future parks in the Lake George and the Lake Louise area. And then over here, what you'll see are really what I call more the corridor-wide. I can't get too close to that. More the corridor-wide vision planning concepts. And so we looked at them in kind of 4 different buckets. Access and connectivity, how do we improve access and connections to the river from surrounding neighborhoods and from the downtown, and really throughout a good share of the community here. So we looked at your ped and bike plan, and we looked at ways to enhance that and improve connections in the community. This board here talks about economic development and land use. So what are some of the opportunities in the future for redevelopment in the downtown area and along the river corridor? Parks and recreation. So how can we start to think about potential parks in the Lake George and Lake Louise area, and how do those fit with your existing park system and help enhance that park system? And then natural resources and river ecology. So what are the kinds of things that we can do to improve the river ecology? And you'll see things on here like conservation easements, green infrastructure, community garden opportunities, those kinds of things, demonstration type projects in the community. And what we'd like you to really do tonight is take a look at these planning concept boards, and then what we'd really like, and this is some of the new stuff, is we've put together these implementation matrices that, so they're color coded, so this is all about access and connectivity. These are distinctive projects that we want you to take a look at that will be implemented at some point in time in the future. Some of them could be near-term projects in the next 5 years. Some of them might be more long-term projects after the dams are removed, all right? So what we'd like you to do is take a look at those, and they correspond. This one corresponds to this board, this one to this board. Take a look at those and put a blue dot on the projects that are, in your mind, the highest priority projects, what should be the highest priority projects, and that'll help us understand what's important to the community. And then the green and red dots are for you to place on the boards for ideas that you like with a green dot, and if there's an idea or a concept that you're not in favor of, you can place a red dot next to that. And that again helps us shape this plan, because the next steps in this planning effort for us are then to put together the final set of recommendations and memorialize it in a graphic document. And as Buddy mentioned, we'll be going to a workshop with the City Council in December, and with a draft copy of that document then, and working through some of those ideas and getting their input on the plan at that point in time, and then finalizing it for resolution in January. So with that, I guess I'm supposed to tell you you're supposed to be eating some cake tonight. This is a celebration, and there's cake and cupcakes over here, and there's refreshments over there in the kitchen area, so help yourselves to that. And each one of these boards has green and red dots on it. So as you take a look at this stuff, if you see things you like, put a green dot on it. If there's something you don't like, put a red dot on it. If you have a question, you can ask anybody in the room that's got a name tag on. The committee knows these plans as well as I know them, because these are really their plans. You know, a lot of these are their ideas. And with that, have fun. Get some cake.